Welcome to Lynnwood Election Watch 2013. I'm your host, Teresa Wippel, and today we are here with Lynnwood City Council candidate Shirley Sutton. Shirley, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Teresa. I'm glad to be here.
And as we always do, I'd like to start out by giving the candidate an opportunity to talk a little bit about themselves and also share why they're running for the position that you are.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I was born and raised in Yakima, Washington, lived there for a number of years, went through high school, graduated, then I moved over to Seattle to seek my fortune. And I started working for the telephone company, so Pacific Northwest Bell, young folks won't know what that is anymore.
I know what it is.
Oh, you know. But they won't. That's
You're
a scary
right.
thing.
No, they won't.
And so then I worked for the telephone company, and then after that, I had a friend that said, "Hey, let's try and do something different." And I said, "Well, what might that be?" She says, "Well, my dad works for, or my uncle, it was her uncle, worked for the railroad, and they were hiring, and they wanted to have passenger representatives of color. And so since I happened to be in the right place at the right time, that started my 20-year railroad experience. So I worked with the railroad for quite a number of years. Not always here in Seattle, though, but it was, I was a passenger rep, so I traveled with the train. And I remember going from, my first time going across Montana, I see these big animals, and they're kind of running alongside the train, just like in the Western movies, you know. And I was really terrified. I said, "Oh my God, what is this?" You know, and we learned it was buffalo. First time ever I had ever seen a buffalo. And I was 21 years of age and never saw a buffalo, not even in a picture. So anyway, that sort of got me really, really understanding at that point in time that you've got to get out of your comfort zone in order to experience life. And so with that, then I was given an opportunity to go back to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the headquarters was moved after there was a train merger that went on. And the railroads, I should say, merged. And then I worked in the Treasury Department for quite a while, then went from there to claims representative, where I handled employee accidents and minor property damage, not too much with property damage, mostly personal injuries. And then from there, I was promoted and became a manager of claims department and moved to Billings, Montana. And then, of course, being a person of color and a female too, you know, I kind of fell out of my element a little bit because I wasn't going to go and buy myself a 6-shooter and walk around with it. I mean, that just was not what Shirley does. But with that, though, again, it gave me the challenge of really trying to understand the culture of which I was in. There was a heavy Native American population, and minimal diversity. And so then I did that for a while, and then coming up on my 20th year, I was then promoted again and moved to Seattle and became manager of labor relations, and I did a lot of grievance work, mediation work, collective bargaining work at that point. And then, of course, I decided then that I needed to have an education. I went back to college, the first in my family to go to college and the first to graduate. And so then with that, then I decided to get into education and work with at-risk students, parents and etc., homeless individuals as well. And then from there, I came to Edmonds Community College and just finished my 12th year basically at Edmonds as an administrator and doing advocacy work with them and diversity work.
Well, that's great.
So that's my life sort of, and
Yeah. And that's how you ended
40
up
years of my life packed into a few minutes.
Right. And you ended up in Lynnwood as a result.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've been here at Lynnwood for since 2001 and have been very engaged in the community. I attend a lot of the council meetings and do a lot of work in the community in terms of conducting various forums and holding meetings on budgets. And most recently, a month ago, the Diversity Commission, which I chair, we had a domestic violence training for citizens. And it was marvelous. It was very well attended. And it was a very touchy issue, so we were really sensitive in how we presented it. And out of that, hearing some of the comments that was made by some of the residents saying, gosh, now I have a better understanding that domestic violence can be generational, and I need to change what I do at my home even. So, hearing those kinds of revelations, you're making that point. And that's part of education. Not all education has to come from book learning, but it can come from experiences. So the reason why I'm running for council is that I think I know my background, my skills that I have developed over these years can really help move us forward as a community. We've got a lot of opportunities in our city. We're 7.5 miles, of course, greatness as I call it. And I really love my community. We really definitely are very diverse culturally and ethnicity wise, and it's just so wonderful to really walk around our community and just meet people. Hi, are you? Hello, I am Shirley Sutton. And then we start talking, and then I also can recognize that there is a 6 degree of separation, because every time I meet a new person, if I talk long enough, we both will find we've got things in common. And that's what is so important in our community, is that we have to understand that we are connected to each other, no matter how you look at it, whether it be somebody that we know, they know, or whether it be from an area like you from Ellensburg, me from Yakima, those kinds of things. So that's why I'm running. I'm also running because I want to make a difference in the council itself. It needs somebody like me.
Why do you say that? What do you bring?
I not only bring beautiful color, but I also bring my expertise that can certainly support the goodness of what our present members have as well. So we're not all analytical people, because analytical people, and I come from an educational background, so I know what I'm talking about. We talk things to death, and we're very slow about moving. Well, they've got all those members. Now they need somebody who's creative and who's innovative, and who can actually really get out there and talk up our community and meet our residents and make them feel that they are part of our community. They need to have a voice, and this is one way of giving them that voice.
Okay, well, let's talk about some issues related to some of those things that you might be able to make a difference with. One of the things that has come up in my research has been the Sound Transit light rail being extended into Lynnwood, and of course the city council took a position. They didn't want the maintenance yard in Lynnwood, didn't think that was a good idea, but there's a lot of changes that's going to bring. As somebody who would be on the council, what kinds of things would you be working with citizens to make sure that they knew about, that they needed to pay attention to, and how is the city going to be adapting to the changes the light rail will bring?
Well, first of all, I think it's important for citizens to understand that, or residents to understand that the decision to move or to bring transit and rail to our city is a sign of progress. It's an opportunity for us to say, okay, I may not be able to stop it, but at least ways I will be able to make sure that we still retain our quality of life as much as possible, that we furnish the services that our citizens really, really do need. I mean, having individuals having to take a bus to and from work, Seattle, transfer 3 or 4 times, I mean, that really adds a lot to their day. And I think we need to be sensitive about that. We need to be sensitive that everybody can't be on the freeway at the same time, because nobody will go anywhere. Nothing would get done. So having the transit come in, having the bus line come in, it's complementing Lynnwood as a place of progress, and I think that's what we need to look at too. But we also need to maintain our identity within our community and our neighborhoods, and keep our citizens safe, making sure that the air they breathe is is clean, making sure that they themselves can move within the infrastructure that particular project is going to bring. As a city councilwoman, I definitely will support that. I support that in terms of getting the message out to our community, holding the meetings that are necessary, making sure that the publications, the City of Lynnwood, for instance, and the Herald are being on top of what's really going on, and keep it honest and authentic, and not sugarcoat, things. I mean, tell it what it is. Tell it that it's going to be dirty, Tell it that it is going to take some of maybe our wetlands. Tell it that it is going to be noisy. We're just talking about the railroad train going by, for instance. Those are things that come with progress, but we can minimize them in terms of aesthetics, putting in barriers or putting in replanting trees, replanting shrubs, whatever it might be, moving our wildlife to maybe another stream or another lake, So with that, we can all still live and be really proud of our city.
Okay. And what about another issue that has come up with the city council in recent months has been the issue of the golf course,
Yes.
and the fact that
Yes.
there's some questions about how to
Yes.
make it financially
So-
viable. And what are your thoughts about that and where we are with the golf course?
Well, I really think that one of the things let me just say this: I'm the type of person that's a traditionalist. Once you put something in place, and it becomes an asset to you, it's important to find out a way to maintain that. Not only maintain it in its present condition, but also improve upon it. And I think that's where we're at right now. Also, marketing probably needs to be beefed up a little bit more, where people come into this area, they stay at the hotels or come into the restaurants, they know that there is a golf course, because it is sort of protected. It's protected by a college campus, and the ducks that you see as you walk around the campus, they're protected too. It's just such a wonderful area. I think we can look at making that golf course more viable. In terms of revenue generating. We could hold family competitions. We can market it in such a way that we maintain it ourselves, or hire another person or group to come in and maintain it for us. I like the idea of self-management, in terms of the fact that we have hands-on staff, administrators that know that course, the ins and outs of that course. They are the best people, I think, to come to the table and say, hey, these are ideas here. What do you think about these? And present them to the city council in a way that brings the understanding that we are relying on their expertise. Not that we have the expertise, but they have that expertise. I'm not in favor of hiring outside consultants and coming in, and they come in and we're paying them $63,000 or whatever it might be to tell us what we already know. It makes no sense to me. And therefore, I think it's important for us to look at also, as we look at the revenue in terms of our golf course, make sure that we are shoring up those areas that we don't necessarily need to be spending money on.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the city has been facing some budget challenges over the last few years. And do you have some general thoughts about how to move Lynnwood forward, given some of the cutbacks and other things that have happened?
Well, first of all, I am not in agreement of using people to make a budget. In other words, laying off people who have been with the city for a long time. That was really hurtful. It hurt our community. I was privy to be able to go and talk to various people that were really concerned about what happened about 4 or 5 years ago with the fact of trying to cover a $20 million deficit. I mean, you don't run your home, at least ways I don't, and I would hope many of us don't, run our homes in the red every month. I mean, that's not good management, money management. And so I'd like to see us shore up those areas that we are really not needing to spend money on, like consultants' fees for one, and that's a thing that I'm going to harp on, because we've got the best people already knowing what is best for us. They live in the culture, they are part of the landscape, and I think we and they're the experts. And so the other thing I'm looking at and doing a little research on is that I am amazed at the number of people that are not really Lynnwood residents, but they're working for Lynnwood. What's happening? You know, our thinking is that we have people here, I'm sure, that are qualified for some of these jobs that come, you know, that appear. And I think we need to start looking at, as council people, putting in some type of restrictions on really how do we employ our own first and then others. Not to say it's bad, but sometimes we've got to be the first people to say, okay, it's not working. We really need to have our residents working, supporting their families, being happy, having the quality of life. And maybe we need to look at how we hire differently. So those are my two pet peeves. At this point in time. I have others, but you know,
and we may get to some of those.
Yeah.
So, and this may or may not be one of them. I don't know. What about red light cameras?
Oh, boy. I will tell you this. I want to share this with you. After I got caught and got a ticket in the mail because I ran a red light, and I didn't do it purposely. I had a truck that was pretty high, and I've got a little low, car, and I couldn't see the lights. So I go and I'm thinking, okay, should I stop or what? I don't know what to do because I've got people following me. So I made the choice to follow the truck, and as a result, I got caught. Well, I was fuming about that. But then I thought, now wait a minute, Shirley, you now are changing your behavior. You are more cautious. You are taking in consideration of other people around you and other drivers. So yes, there's some good and there's some negative about the red lights. But it does change behavior. If anybody is understanding the reason why we have red lights, it is to change behavior. And it also brings revenue into our city. That is, if we are able to collect it. And that's another thing. That I feel that we'd have to really, as council members, take a serious look at how do we go about collecting the revenue that we get from the red lights. And it's a safety issue. I mean, we have young folks that are not necessarily as cautious, and they run out in the streets in front of you, and those are around the heavily populated areas like the schools and so forth. I mean, it's a sort of safety, and I think it's okay. It's okay.
Okay. What about the feeling that I've heard from some folks who say that Lynnwood is not necessarily a very friendly place to small businesses? Have you heard that?
I've heard that, and I do want to dispel that, because I do say that maybe we have not done the best job. We have not put our hands out and say, hey, small business, how can we as a city help you? We need to do that. And I think that is another platform that will happen. And it will happen because we are into the progress of many of our small businesses, and they don't necessarily know all the rules or regulations, and it's going to take an outreach from City Hall to make them feel comfortable, to include them in the decision making, and also to come up with ways that we can engage them more when it comes to taxes. And I think if we do that, because we keep saying this has been on the agenda, off and on the agenda for quite a while, about how do we reach out more to small businesses. And if we do that, then I think, and keeping their needs, of course, in the forefront, I think we will see those kinds of remarks maybe being turned around, because everything has to be intentional. I mean, people have got to get out there, and you shake the folks' hand, and you explain who you are, and explain what you're trying to do to help them. Then I think they'd be more likely that when they do have a problem or have concern, they know they can pick up the phone and get some results, or they can come to the City Hall and get some results. So yes, I have heard those remarks, and I am one to change that. We've got to change it.
You know, something you said early on, just talking about your experiences and, you know, living where you lived and kind of being in these remote places and being a person of color.
Yes.
You know, something that struck me when I looked at some of the census data for Lynnwood, of course, is it's become a much more diverse place in
Absolutely.
recent years. More senior citizens, probably more people who have a variety of different needs, different interests. In addition, you know, the household income is lower than the rest of the county. So as a new council person coming in, how would you approach that? What would be the kinds of things you'd be thinking about in terms of embracing some of those needs?
Well, first of all, we don't have a choice. First of all, you know, I mean, if a person wants to go into their house or their clean neighborhood, as I call it, and live that way and never come across anyone that might look different than them and they could probably, you know, learn from, that's a choice. But that's not a realistic choice either, because diversity is all around us. It doesn't matter if we're from a different culture or a different ethnic group. It's all around us, and it's going to continue to be all around us. So to me, the best thing we can do is to educate ourselves about those differences in terms of being open to meeting people who are maybe not the same looking as we are, but definitely are within our neighborhoods, because it is here. Now, the wage situation, I think we need to, from the city standpoint, council, is take a really good look at what our income gaps are, and with that, take some strides in figuring out, okay, where are our citizens being underpaid? What kinds of jobs are they, first of all? Because if you're CEO, you naturally expect a higher wage or a higher salary than someone who's just coming out of high school or coming out of college and having their first job. I mean, that's kind of, you're paid according to what your skill levels are and what your knowledge is and so forth. I think that we need to look at that, and I don't think I've ever really been to a council meeting where that has been really discussed in depth. I know in education arena it is discussed, because we have to look at when we're educating students to take a rightful place in the community. We look at what those types of opportunities in terms of salary. If you are a phlebotomist, for instance, and you're going out in the community, what can you expect? We have those discussions with students, but we don't necessarily sit down and have those discussions one-on-one with residents or citizens. And I think that needs to be a forum held so we can get not only their input, but find out what they really are concerned about. Because if I remember correctly, I think it's 1 out of 10 residents in Snohomish County is poverty level. And that's so important to really address that, because everything keeps going up. We already know utilities going up, gas goes up, etc. It's just a snowball effect, and it impacts all of us. No matter what economic scale or range we might be in, we all are feeling the pinch. And so the best thing, I think, again, is to come together, talk about what can we do. First of all, acknowledge that it is affecting all of us because we're all in the same boat here. And then what can we do to change this for our residents of our city? Not Mill Creek or all the other surrounding cities, not being negative or anything, but here in Lynnwood. And that's why I'm so key on, okay, whenever we have corporation that comes in or contractor that comes in and want to build or open up a store, city council members need to have a discussion with these individuals and say, hey, what jobs are you going to offer our Lynnwood residents to help pull them up as well?
Okay. So what would you, this is a conversation I've had with folks about how do you define, when you talk about Lynnwood, how do you define the city center even of Lynnwood? You know, people talk about, you know, what's the identity, and somebody said, oh, it's just a place to go shopping, and, you know, what are your thoughts about how to give the city a better
I've heard those comments too. And first of all, I want to say that Lynnwood is a family-friendly city. And I don't know how else to put it, family-friendly city. And we have plans within the next 5 years to actually have an identifiable city center. Tongue twister there, and that's very exciting because it's again progress, and when you see your community coming together and they're giving their ideas about what they want to see in their downtown area, it's just awesome. And so I know that how people are looking at us right now is going to be different in 5 years, just because there will be that identifiable branding, as I call it, in marketing, I guess it's called branding. And also the other community that is where the former high school used to be, that is going to also be developed over the years. And that's also going to be a wonderful addition to our city. And yes, we are number one. We are known for shopping, but we're much more than that.
Right.
We're much more than
And
that.
some people would say, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're much more than that. And we're going to get greater. I see Snohomish County being one of the greatest counties in the state of Washington. 713,000 residents, and we're growing. And all up and down this corridor, you just see so much growth at the detriment of, again, sometimes we're taking out a little too many trees for me and in bushes and things like that adds the aesthetic to our balance and so forth. But again, that's progress.
Okay. Well, we are now at a point, this time went by really fast, but it is now time for you to tell voters what you want them to think about when they see your name on the ballot,
okay.
And also let people know how they can find out more about you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Well, first of all, I want them to know and understand that I am a very honorable person. My motto is service with integrity. I am also a conflict resolution expert. I'm a family advocate and community advocate. I also have done diversion working with juvenile delinquents. And I also ran and operated $1 million budget when I was working for the railroad. And so those things to me are very, very, very important. I am credible. I get things done.
Very good. And do you have a website where people
I have a website.
learn
It's
more?
www.voteshirleysutton.com.
And that's Sutton, in
That's
case
correct.
people wonder how it's spelled.
Yes,
Okay.
Sutton. And then there is a place there for blogging. If someone has a question they'd like to ask me, they can blog it and I will answer them directly. I also feel that keeping ideas that community members give me, I'm going to make sure that appears on that blog because that helps other people know what other community members are thinking. And my doorbelling has been very enriching, although kind of laborious in terms of my legs, I've had severe cramping for a while, but it's getting better. And just listening to their stories about, I want to go into small business and I want to have a snowboarding company with me and my son, and those kinds of richness is just priceless, absolutely priceless. So yes, it's www.voteshirleysutton.com.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank
and
you,
good
Teresa.
luck to you, Shirley.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Okay.